2024 City of Oshkosh Plan Commission. We are glad you can join us. I do see we have a quorum. I have a few housekeeping items to go over before we begin. Please turn off or silence all personal communication devices. The applicant and members of the public may speak to any item before the Plan Commission when the relevant item for which you wish to speak is called and public comment or public hearing is open. Unless an exception is made by the Plan Commission, the following rules will apply. The applicant will be given up to 10 minutes to present any information they wish the Plan Commission to consider. Thereafter, members of the public will be given up to 5 minutes to address the specific item before the Plan Commission for consideration. Members of the public may only speak once per called agenda item unless one of the members of the Plan Commission requires clarification or wishes to ask you a question. Questions or statements from the audience will not be considered. Only statements from the podium after your name and address and within the allowed time constraints are taken into consideration. After all community members have had an opportunity to speak on the called agenda item, the applicant will be asked if they have a final statement for the Plan Commission, and then the Commission may take action on that agenda item. The Common Council has adopted rules and decorum for city boards, commissions, including the adoption of a civility pledge. No person shall personally attack a board or commission member, city official, staff, or any other person. No person shall make irrelevant, unduly repetitive, offensive, threatening, slanderous, defamatory, or obscene remarks, or act in such a manner as to disrupt or disturb the orderly conduct of the meeting. This includes hand clapping, stomping of feet, whistling, shouting, or other demonstrations. I thank you all for your understanding. Now on to the agenda. Roll call, please.
Mr. Ulrich?
Present.
Ms. Davy?
Here.
Mr. Lowenstein?
Here.
Mr. Bowen? Ms. Shireman?
Here.
Ms. Propp?
Here.
Councilmember Nichols? Vice Chair Kiefer?
Here.
Chairman Perry?
Here.
7 board members present.
Wonderful. Approval of the May 21st, 2024
Could you just
minutes.
speak up, please? You're hard to hear with the blowers going on back here. Thank you.
Approval of the May 21st, 2024 minutes.
Move to accept as written.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Okay, I'm seeing none, so we can have a voice vote. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Nay. Okay, the minutes have passed. First item on the agenda is the election of officers. I'll turn it over to Mark.
Thank you. So it is that time of year again where we have to elect chair and vice chair for the Plan Commission. I will call for nominations 3 times, and then we'll need a motion to close nominations and vote. So first, call for nominations for chair of the Plan Commission.
I'd like to nominate Tom Perry.
Second.
Second call of nominations. Third and final call for nominations. As we only have one nomination, I need a motion and a second for Mr. Perry to be elected as chair.
I'll make a motion to accept Mr. Perry as chair.
Second.
And then I do have to call for a vote. Mr. Ulrich,
Aye.
Miss Davy,
Aye.
Mr. Lowenstein,
Aye.
Miss Shireman,
Aye.
Mr. Kiefer,
Aye.
Miss Propp.
Aye.
All right, motion is approved. With that, we also have vice chair. So same process, I will call 3 times for nominations. So first call of nominations for vice chair.
Nominate Mr. Kiefer.
Second.
Second call for nominations. Third and final call for nominations. Again, as we have only one, I do need a final motion and second for Mr. Kiefer.
I make a motion to nominate Mr. Kiefer for vice chair.
Second.
Thank you. And again for the vote. Mr. Ulrich,
Aye.
Miss Davy,
Aye.
Mr. Lowenstein,
Aye.
Miss Shireman,
Aye.
Mr. Perry,
Aye.
and Miss Prop.
Aye.
All right, motion carries. Thank you.
All right, item number 2, residential design standards variance to allow for a deck on the front facade at 407 West 11th Avenue. Julio Moran is the owner and applicant. Have there been any site inspections? Okay, thank you. Those are noted. I will accept the staff report as part of the record. Please present your summary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The applicant is requesting approval of a variance from the city's residential design standards to allow for a deck on the front facade at 407 West 11th Avenue. The subject property is a residential lot approximately 10,000 square feet in area. The property is a corner lot with 11th Avenue running along the north and Iowa Street to the east. The property contains a 1,818 square foot, 1.5 story, 2-family residential structure that was built in 1920 according to the city's assessor's website. The subject property and the surrounding properties are zoned 2-flat residential 10. The home, detached garage, and driveway are positioned in such way that the property essentially does not have a rear or interior side yard. The applicant is proposing to construct a 29-foot by 14-foot 7-inch deck on the facade of the home that faces Iowa Street. Complete work proposed includes replacing the existing patio door, constructing a new deck and steps. Applicable ordinance prohibits decks on street-facing facades. Therefore, Plan Commission review and a design standards variance are necessary for this project. Staff feel that this design standards variance request is not contrary to the public interest because the proposed deck will meet the principal structure setback requirements for the TR10 zoning district. Required principal structure front setback for that zoning district is 25 feet, and the proposed deck will have a setback of 46 feet per the submitted site plan. Staff also feel that the property provides an unnecessary hardship because the current layout of the home, detached garage, and driveway do not allow for an interior side yard or rear yard, therefore eliminating the possibility for a deck where the zoning ordinance permits them to be constructed. Staff recommends approval of the variance from the city's residential design standards to allow for a deck on the front facade with the conditions and findings listed in the staff report.
Thank you for your report. Plan Commission, are there any technical questions to staff on this? Any technical questions? All right, I'm not seeing any. As I do with all agenda items, I will allow public comment on this and request if the applicant would like to make a statement. Is the applicant here tonight?
Yes, I am, sir.
Would you like to make a statement for the board?
I can make a couple of comments.
So go to the podium and state your name and address for our records, please.
My name is, hopefully this works okay. My name is Julio Moran. I live at 407 West 11th Avenue. A few years ago, about 2018, I had to reconstruct a garage. It was falling apart. It was already leaning over 6 inches. It looked like a haunted garage. It was not a pretty sight. With that, I ended up working with the zoning department and the inspection office. And I guess my biggest comment is they were excellent to work with. I do hope that this does go through, that this variance gets approved, and look very forward on working with the inspection team. They helped me out a lot, and I'm pretty sure it'll be a wonderful thing. We're looking for it to be prettier on the outside. Now that we have most of the house done on the inside, I think the view from Iowa to the house in that section does not look as clean. So we're looking to make something a little bit more modern, but keep the appeal of the house as well too. And hopefully it'll look nicer. That's all I have.
Thank you. Okay, at this time, we can open comment to the public. Is there any member of the public that wishes to speak on this agenda item? Any member of the public that wishes to speak on this agenda item? Okay, I'm seeing none, so I'm going to close the public comment period. We don't need a closing statement from the applicant, so Plan Commission, the action is upon you.
Motion to adopt the findings and recommendations as stated in the staff report.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Okay, I don't see any discussion on the motion. I will say that, once again, this is another property that has 2 front yards according to our standards, and so this is one of those properties that's very difficult for the standards to be met as they're written, and so we've done these before, and we will continue to see these and fully support this. All right, any other comment on the motion? Okay, I'm seeing none. Let's have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Ulrich,
Aye.
Ms. Davy,
Aye.
Mr. Lowenstein,
Aye.
Ms. Shireman,
Aye.
Ms. Prop,
Aye.
Vice Chair Kiefer,
Aye.
Chairman Perry.
Aye.
Motion carried 7-0.
Wonderful, thank you. Item number 3 is a public hearing. It's the Boschwitz 2 annexation from the town of Oshkosh, west side of the 2900 block of Vinland Street. Town parcels are listed. City of Oshkosh is the owner and the applicant. Have there been any site inspections of this property? Those are noted, thank you. I will accept the staff report as part of the record. Please present your summary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. The city is requesting approval of annexation of 2 lots totaling approximately 31.284 acres located on the west side of Vinland Street, approximately a quarter mile south of West Furno Avenue, immediately north of the Canadian and National Rail spur line. The land is undeveloped and is approximately 575 feet by 2,580 feet deep. The subject site is predominantly vacant and being farmed. The property currently has a Town of Oshkosh Light Industrial District zoning and a Winnebago County Light Industrial District zoning with shoreland zoning overlay. The surrounding area has a wide range of uses with undeveloped lands to the south, industrial to the east and west, and the industrial to the west. The city is proposing a temporary and permanent zoning classification of heavy industrial district, which is consistent with the comprehensive plan's industrial land use recommendation for this area. In 2003, the city consulted with Foth and Van Dyke to prepare the Northwest Industrial Park Expansion Area Site Master Plan. This plan was created to analyze the general area and conceptualize future land uses and infrastructure needs to expand the park. In 2009, the city purchased approximately 83 acres of the former Boschwitz farm property specifically for the Northwest Industrial Park expansion. There were no immediate needs or prospects for development on this land, so it remained in the town of Oshkosh. But more recently, there has been some interest in developing this land, which has prompted this annexation request. The Department of Public Works has reviewed the request and reported that city water main is available along Vinland Street. Sanitary sewer is not located on Vinland, however, it is available via main flowing east, which ends at the east right-of-way of Vinland Street, making extensions possible. The Oshkosh Fire and Police Departments have reviewed the annexation request and do not have any concerns with providing services to the property. With that, staff is recommending approval of the Boschwitz 2 annexation with the temporary and permanent zonings of heavy industrial as requested.
Okay, thank you for your report. Plan Commission, are there any technical questions? Ms. Shireman.
What are the pros and cons of doing the annexation at the time of purchase versus now? Like, I know there was no interest then, and there's some interest now, but I would think if your intent is, if you purchase, your intent is to do something at some point.
Yeah, so it was purchased at a time when the property was available. We knew that necessarily there was not the need to expand the park at that time, which is why it never moved forward with being annexed into the city. It was more of the fact that the land was available So the city took the opportunity back then and purchased it. But as Jeff mentioned, there was no immediate tenants or interested parties in the property, which is why we never moved forward with bringing it in.
Okay. So there's no pros or cons if you just annex it when it becomes more,
When it becomes necessary.
okay.
Ms. Davy?
Jeff, could you go back a slide or two from here, please? There. What is the loop going into that, the black and green loop?
That is the county's shoreline zoning overlay. You can see here, it represents this. There's a creek right here, which the DNR considers navigable. So there's a 300-foot buffer around there, which has some additional site design that has to be considered before developing. So the county has jurisdiction over that particular area. Otherwise, the rest of the land is town of Oshkosh zoning.
Okay, thank you.
Any other technical questions for staff from the Plan Commission? Okay, I'm seeing none. So since this is a public hearing, I will open the public hearing and request, do we need a statement from the applicant?
The city is the applicant.
So, because the city has spoken in the report, we will ask for additional public comment. Is there any member of the public that wish to speak? Please approach the podium and state your name and address for our records, please.
My name is Amanda Miller. I currently live at 2798 Hamilton Street. I'm at the very end of the cul-de-sac that this property is a part of. I have a lot of questions. Mainly, I was not able to see the document that you just posted. I've looked online multiple times and I could not find a link to the planning site. So my questions end up being, what is the road access that you guys plan for this industrial site? Are you planning road access off of Vinland, off of Clover Street? We want to know from a family standpoint how much traffic is going through the area. What is the noise allowance? Are you allowing second and third shift for a high industrial area? Are you allowing, I only have about 20, maybe 30 feet of property behind my house, and then we have this beautiful farm that you have animals and things like that. What I'm picturing right now is that you guys are going to put, or not you guys, but whoever buys the property is going to put a chain link fence and basically a parking lot behind my home that's within a softball throwing distance of my back door. I bought my house in 2019. I would have never bought the house if I knew a heavy industrial would be behind it. However, with where we're at now, I guess my question is, we just got tax reassessed. My property went up 72%, over $100,000 increase from 2019 when I bought it. You're at minimum decreasing that now by another $50,000. Like, do we get reassessed? Because my home value is not what you guys just reassessed it to. And then what are the requirements for the borders? So again, if I have the chain link fence and a parking lot, is there a requirement of an easement? How far off the property line that they need to be? A visual of what the quality of materials used, whether or not there's a blockage of a certain distance that they need to see. Like, I don't have enough technical information about what could be going into this area and requirements on whoever purchases it, what is needed as a landowner for this area, and I'm highly concerned.
Ma'am, thank you for your comments. This is actually the next agenda item, so I want you to keep them fresh and we will consider them for the next agenda item. It's for the property north of the railroad tracks that we're talking about now.
Okay, so there's two separate properties of Vinland Street.
Correct.
Okay,
Okay,
thank you.
thank you. Are there any other members of the public? Please approach the podium and state your name and address. And remember, this is the property technically now north of the railroad tracks.
Ralph Gunther, 2787 Minerva, and I also am abutting that property. It's proposed to be heavy industrial, which is very bothersome. We're in a residential area. We've lived in our home for 17 years. We have a beautiful field in back of us. We're currently enjoying the better things of life there. We see wild animals, deer, turkeys, almost daily. The cranes come to visit. I checked with the DNR. They said they have not heard anything about this proposal to turn this into a heavy industrial. I propose, and I ask for your consideration on this, let the heavy industrial go by the tracks and then give us a big buffer zone. Turn it into a park or something. The animals can play wild and we'll enjoy it. The residential people in that neighborhood will enjoy life much better. And if you're considering that, really would appreciate it.
Okay, thank you. Once again, this is for the property north of the railroad tracks, and the next agenda item is the south of the railroad tracks. So, thank you. We'll consider that.
Keep
for
this
the
in
next-
mind.
Right. We will. Is there any other member of the public that wishes to speak on this agenda item? Any other member of the public wish to speak on this agenda item? All right, I'm seeing none, so I'm going to close the public comment, or the public hearing on this agenda item, and the applicant does not need to make a closing statement, so Plan Commission, the action is upon you.
Motion to adopt the findings and recommendations as stated in the staff report.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Ms. Shireman?
Can you clarify again when this was designated, when this designation was made for this area? How long ago?
For the comp plan, it's been industrial, Jeff, so once early
Since at
90s.
least 93's comp plan
So it's always been that way.
And it's industrial manufacturing in the county right now.
for the zone district it is.
Okay, so it's always been that way. We're not changing, there's no change in that. It's always been that way.
No, for the north,
Since the 1990s.
yeah, on the north side, industrial is the long-term plan. When we get to the south side, we can talk a little bit more about some of the nuance there.
Okay, but the north side, it's always been that way. Got it.
Any other plan discussion on the motion? Any other discussion on the motion? I'm seeing none, so let's have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Ulrich?
Aye.
Ms. Davy?
Aye.
Mr. Lowenstein?
Aye.
Ms. Shireman?
Aye.
Ms. Prop?
Aye.
Vice Chair Kiefer?
Aye.
Chairman Perry?
Aye.
Motion carried 7-0.
Thank you. Item number 4 is a public hearing. It's on Boschwitz 3 annexation from the town of Oshkosh, west side of the 2700, 2800 blocks of Vinland Street. The city of Oshkosh is the owner and applicant. Have there been any site inspections?
When you're done, I'll talk.
Those are noted. Thank you. I will accept the staff report as part of the record. Please present your summary.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is a second annexation of this in very close proximity to item 3. This is a city request to annex approximately 51.696 acres of land from the town of Oshkosh into the city. This parcel of land or 2 parcels of land is approximately 950 feet wide by 2,580 feet deep. Similar to the other site, it's currently vacant and being farmed. The property has a town of Oshkosh light industrial district zoning, along with a Winnebago County light industrial district with shoreline zoning. Air photo of this site. And as I previously mentioned in the previous staff report, the city had a consultant prepare the Northwest Industrial Park Expansion Area Site Master Plan, and this land was included as a recommended area for North Industrial Park Expansion Area. The city purchased in 2009, currently there's been some interest in developing this site, and which prompted the request or the reasoning for this annexation. One question I'm sure you have is, why didn't we do this as one item? Annexations per state statute have to be contiguous. The railroad will remain in the town of Oshkosh as a connection to a town property located on Clover Street. So the city needs to maintain that town connection, which is why the strip of land has to be has to remain in the town to such time that house chooses to annex into the city. So with that, staff is recommending approval of the Oshkosh 3 annexation with the temporary and permanent zonings of heavy industrial as requested.
Jeff, can you go back to the aerial? So to talk a little bit about this one, right now is being signed HI heavy industrial because we have to assign zonings on full parcels. We can't split zone properties when they're brought in and annexed. If I can steal this, we'll see how well I can show this. There's an A&R pipeline that comes through this area that you can't really build over. So when the city did that initial evaluation for bringing this into the city, this area, let's call it southwest side of the pipeline, is identified as actually residential, not industrial. As development would take place, there's a road that's mapped to come down and circle over to Vinland. That would be the industrial area. And we would look for this area to develop not as industrial. But until we have development started from the industrial side, we won't start to split that property off. And then that area would likely be changed to whatever is appropriate for that residential. That is why you see Clover here as a stub street, to access more residential on that side of it. Kind of using that A&R pipeline is what will be the buffer that splits the industrial area from the residential area. It's one of those nuances, though, as we annex, we have to do the full parcel, and the full parcel has to be assigned zoning at the time. We can't split it up. So I hope that helps. Like, it is intended for residential and buffering to be in place, not industrial traffic going through Clover, those neighborhoods. The industrial is really to the northeast side of the development area, but we have to bring it all in at once.
Thank you for your clarification. Ms. Shireman.
What assurances is there, other than what you're speaking today, that southwest corner indeed will not be heavy industrial and it will be residential?
So the city owns the property, so it would be just us following through on those plans.
If some big
But
heavy industrial comes in and wants the whole thing.
And the NR pipeline literally creates
The divide.
that
Okay.
it becomes extremely unlikely that anything can cross that,
Got it.
just because
That
of
makes sense.
such strict regulations by ANR. Now, again, this is only annexing and bringing into the city. There is no development plans from an applicant at this time. If somebody tries to develop that or try to approach the city, it would be the neighborhood meetings. It would be back through Plan Commission and Council and all of those things. So we recognized early, and this was obviously before most of this staff was part of the city, but we understand that we have that area that industrial and residential backing up together is not a great idea. If an industrial user tried to do that, I agree with the neighbors. We would want significant landscaping, significant buffering, all of those things to protect the neighbors like we do if anyone else tries to develop adjacent to residential. So there is no plans for industrial back there right now. And if industrial did go there, we would never allow them access to Clover Street. We don't want industrial through residential. We need that separation.
Perfect, thank you.
Any other comments or technical questions from the Plan Commission? Mr. Ulrich.
If this annexation is approved, is there any allowance for any of the residents to perhaps purchase some of the property behind their houses on Hamilton or Minerva to create a buffer of their own?
Yeah, that's something we could definitely discuss if neighbors were interested in obtaining part of that property.
Any other technical questions? All right, I'm seeing none, so I'm going to open the public hearing. The applicant has already spoken, so we're request additional public comment. Just to keep everything on the up and up, the two people who spoke earlier, if you would just approach the podium and say your name and then say what I said before. You don't have to say the whole thing, but.
Amanda Miller, property owner of 2798 Hamilton Street. I think most of my questions have been answered. My new questions are, so the A&R pipeline can't be built over, but you can build on both halves. You said there's a potential of the half near us that it becomes residential.
Is there people interested in that right now? Is there a timeline for that?
No, we don't have anyone interested in it right now.
For the A&R pipeline, how large is the diameter of the pipe, and then how far off of the pipe, like, is that access when you're talking about kind of a line that's going diagonal?
I don't, off the top of my head, know the size of the pipe.
It's a 75-foot wide easement that runs through there.
That's what I need to know. Thank you.
And then you'd like the comments you made earlier as part of this?
Yes, that I do not want that to accidentally be sold or changed as heavy industrial. When we bought the property, there was always a thought that that could become a subdivision. We were very, very irritated when it had the potential of being heavy industrial. So as long as it is used for subdivision or nothing, I'm calmer about that.
Thank you. And you would like your earlier comments put into this?
Yeah, I'm still Ralph Gunther. Ralph Gunther, 2787 Minerva. Oh, I do have one more thing to bring up, though, on that property. A number of years ago, the city came in and did a survey on that and designated areas for retention pond. And one of the areas is just about where the blue line comes down perpendicular. I know it was very close to our home, like in our own backyard. And I'm wondering if that was into any consideration on
So that
this.
wasn't for retention ponds? There was a wetland delineation done?
Well, I was told retention pond at the time.
Yeah, nope. The city did a wetland delineation to see what out there was wetlands and what was buildable
Because
area.
right now, we have water in our backyard in that area because it's the what delineation or whatever. Anyways, we have water when it rains very heavily, or we have water sitting there and standing. And I thought maybe the retention pond itself would be kind of a cure with a drainage, but there's no plans for that apparently.
So if or when someone looks to develop the residential area, the industrial area, they will have to meet stormwater management and will likely
Thank
have
you.
to put in ponds at that time.
That's what I was concerned about, so it would be taken care of at that time then.
Correct.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And ditto on the comments of
Okay, thank you. Is there any other member of the public that wishes to speak on this agenda item? State your name and address for our records, please.
Andy Wilson, 3432 Shepherd Drive. I have some questions that arose from some of the questions that were asked earlier. And I guess the first thing is, it seems like there's really multiple issues here. One is whether the city should annex it, and I think the city owns it, and that's probably natural, they want to. The next is what the zoning should be. It sounds like it's currently light industrial going to heavy industrial. Can you tell me the distinction? What would be included in heavy industrial? It seems like that is an increase in use.
Do you know what? So the town zoning is a little bit different than the city. So the first is they're not exactly apples to apples. As one is a town and a county designation versus the city. Heavy industrial is obviously typically a more intense industrial uses allowed than what a light industrial would be.
Okay, so you are expanding the use beyond what it was previously?
Yes, the heavy industrial would be the city's designation for our typical industrial parks.
Okay. And then the next item that came to mind was that you indicate that it's 50-some acres and you have to assign a zoning when you bring it into the city. And yet you're going with the heavier rather than a lesser intensive use zoning. The question would be, would it be possible to partition this property into two parcels prior to bringing it in, and then having the one that you plan to have heavy industrial, bring that in as heavy industrial, and then the other one that you are planning to have as something that's not built on, brought in as residential or something lighter use?
So the comprehensive plan for that area calls for industrial, so we could not assign a residential district to a comprehensive planned industrial property. when you do zone change under state statute, you have to match your underlying comp plan. And that's why we talk, there is a process that will take place when it is appropriate to start splitting the property to get it into that residential district.
Do you have a zoning, a lesser industrial classification for zoning other than heavy industrial?
We have urban industrial as well, which would not be appropriate given the area for urban industrial wouldn't be appropriate.
Could you help me understand that?
Yeah, urban industrial is just that. It's designed for industrial areas that are within the urban built environment of the city.
Thank you.
Thank you. Is there any other member of the public that wishes to speak on this agenda item? Any other member of the public that wishes to speak on this agenda item? I am seeing none, so I'm going to close the public comment period. We don't need a closing statement from the applicant, so commission, the action is upon you.
Motion to adopt the findings and recommendations as stated in the staff report.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Mr. Kiefer.
So this is like the very first step, annexing this in. So if we're going to change designated areas to different zoning, it's going to have to be a comp plan amendment change first of all, and then it'll go become zoned a certain way. We'll have to have interest in knowing what's going to be developed in that area. So there's many more steps before this would ever anything be built. So this is like the very first step in that development. So and we're matching what the comp plan calls for in this area, which is what we have to do.
Yep.
And each step is noticed to the neighbors.
Correct. Before any development would take place, it would go through that typical notice process and meeting schedule like we do for anything.
Any other discussion on the motion? Mr. Owen.
I guess just for the record, I'm also leery of the he said, she said kind of assurances that might be given in a situation like this. I trust Mr. Lyons and I understand how the process works, so I believe that there's not going to be building over that pipeline and that the most probable future is going to be residential to the west of that diagonal line. But it's our responsibility to follow the comprehensive plan, which is why I'll be voting in favor of this, and I trust the process. But it would be nice to see something more in writing in addition to just the motion to adopt the recommendations. So I certainly understand the concerns of those who spoke.
Any other discussion on the motion? I will also mention that this pipeline comes up 3 or 4 times a year in various parts of the city, and we are very limited on what can be even put anywhere near the pipeline. And so it almost makes a good portion of this property very unusable for anything, even in a heavy industrial scale. So we'll have to see what comes up in the future. I imagine this property will come to us 3 or 4 times before it's finally developed because of all the things that are going to be needed to get it to go. So I will support this as well. Any other discussion on the motion? All right, I'm seeing none. Let's have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Ulrich?
Aye.
Ms. Davy?
Aye.
Mr. Lowenstein?
Aye.
Ms. Shireman?
Aye.
Ms. Prott?
Aye.
Vice Chair Kiefer?
Aye.
Chairman Perry?
Aye.
Motion carried 7-0.
Thank you. Item number 5 is also a public hearing. It's a conditional use permit amendment for an adaptive reuse land use at 1675 Oregon Street. Nilla D. Olkey is the owner and applicant. Has there been any site inspections? Okay, those are so noted. And I will accept the staff report as part of the record. Please present your summary.
Thank you, Chairman. So as stated, the applicant is requesting a conditional use permit amendment for an adaptive reuse at 1675 Oregon Street. Just as a note, adaptive reuse land uses are permitted only through a conditional land use in the NMU zoning district. So as you can see up there, the subject site is located at the northwest corner of West 17th Avenue and Oregon Street. The subject parcel is approximately 6,700 square feet and includes a residential unit in the upper level and an art studio in one of the lower level units. The site is surrounded by a mix of single-family and commercial uses. And for some of you who maybe were on the board a couple years ago, the site did go through a conditional approval for the current art studio in 2019, while the second lower level unit also went through a conditional approval to be converted from a barber shop to a coffee shop in 2022. So the applicant is currently requesting an approval of an adaptive reuse to establish a one-bedroom apartment in the existing lower level unit that was previously approved for a coffee shop. According to the applicant, the unit never fully transitioned into a coffee shop due to financial reasons, and therefore that land use is no longer being considered by the applicant. So it's coming to you guys today because mixed-use buildings can have no more than 30% of the ground floor area for residential uses, and the adaptive reuse is needed due to the ground floor area as proposed for this residential use because it's 35%. So the existing art studio and the upper level apartment are not changing, and staff is okay with the proposal, even though it's slightly larger than what code allows for, because it's compatible with the surrounding area with the other commercial and residential uses. One thing to note is the inspection services department stated that the conversion from a commercial tenant space to a residential space will likely require a sprinkler system to be installed, and that all other building, HVAC, plumbing, and all the things to get it converted will need to go through the proper site plan review process and proper permits. So with that, staff recommends approval of the conditional use permit amendment for adaptive reuse, the proposed findings listed in the staff report.
All right, thank you very much for your report. Plan Commission, technical questions for the staff? Are there any technical questions for the staff? All right, I see none. This is a public hearing, so I will open the public hearing, and I will ask if the applicant would like to make a statement. Is the applicant here? Approach the podium and state your name and address for our records, please.
My name is Nilady Elke, and I'm the owner and instructor at the art studio. I am looking to keep the options open for the local people around me to be able to come in and use the studio. I look to have people from across the state, which is slowly happening, but I want to be able to keep the studio open. And by having the apartment on the adjacent side, it will substantiate having income coming in to help me keep the art studio open. I've worked with the Planning Commission before, and they've been very agreeable and helpful, and I look to continue that relationship. So I would appreciate your understanding in my wanting to keep the studio open for the local community and beyond. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Is there any member of the public that wishes to speak on this agenda item? Any member of the public that wishes to speak on this agenda item? All right, I'm seeing none, so I'm going to close the public hearing. We don't need a closing statement from the applicant, so Plan Commission, the action is upon you.
Motion to adopt the findings and recommendations stated in the staff report.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Discussion on the motion? Is there any Plan Commission discussion on this motion? All right, I'm seeing none, so let's have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Ulrich?
Aye.
Ms. Davy?
Aye.
Mr. Lowenstein?
Aye.
Ms. Shireman?
Aye.
Ms. Proth?
Aye.
Vice Chair Kiefer?
Aye.
Chairman Perry?
Aye.
Motion carried 7-0.
Wonderful, thank you. Item number 6 is a specific implementation plan amendment for a monument sign at 2130 South Washburn Street. New Vision is the owner. Signorama, Andy Wopinski is the applicant. Have there been any site inspections? You can include myself as well. All right, thank you, and I will accept the staff report as part of the record. Please present your summary.
Thank you. So the subject site is a 3-acre property located on the east side of South Washburn Street, south of West 20th Avenue. It is zoned suburban mixed-use district with a planned development overlay. A plan was recently approved for conversion of the building to an optometry clinic, which is NEW Vision. No other changes are being proposed at this time except for a new monument sign. The applicant is proposing a new 10-foot tall, 54 square foot monument sign located here on the inside of the parking lot. The applicant is requesting a BSM for the placement of the monument sign as it's not meeting the required 25-foot setback in the SMU district. According to the applicant, the reduced setback is needed as the existing parking lot is built to that 25-foot setback. Staff is supportive of the requested BSM for the reduced setback as it will be consistent with the existing monument sign for the neighboring Fox World travel site to the south. And that site has a 8-foot tall, 56 square foot monument sign with a 6.5-foot front yard setback. So again, it is consistent with the setback of that sign. And that sign had here's the sign plan, and the Fox World Travel sign had a condition on the approval that it would have landscaping planted on all sides of the monument sign. So staff is recommending the same condition for this monument sign, that it has the landscaping on all sides to offset that BSM for the reduced setback. So with that, staff recommends approval of the SIP amendment with the findings and conditions in your staff report.
All right, thank you for your report. Plan Commission, any technical questions? Any technical questions for the staff? Okay, I'm seeing none. I am going to allow public comment on this and ask, is the owner or applicant here to make public comment on this?
I'm here. My name's Andy Walton, here for Cinerama. So the one question I have is in regards to the landscaping, when that would have to be completed. So upon approval with the permit and construction and install, we're looking at probably September, October timeframe when this is fully said and done. So my ask would be if it needs to have landscaping, that we move that, push that to spring, just knowing that that would happen.
Yeah, so the ordinance would be set up to require planting in the following planting season. So if it is not completed till September, October, it would allow you until the following spring to do that planting. If for some reason you were ahead of schedule and it got done in August, then it would require you to plant in the fall planting season of this year. Okay. So it really comes down to that timing, but the ordinance is set up to allow you that timeline if it's finished after the planting season.
Okay. That's all I have.
All right, thank you. I'll allow public comment. Is there any member of the public that wishes to comment on this agenda item? Any member of the public that wishes to comment? All right, I'm seeing none, so I'm going to close the public comment period. You don't need a closing statement from the applicant, so Commission, the action is upon you.
Motion to adopt the findings and recommendations as stated in the staff report.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on the motion? Any discussion on the motion? And I'm seeing none. Let's have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Ulrich?
Aye.
Ms. Davy?
Aye.
Mr. Lowenstein?
Aye.
Ms. Shireman?
Aye.
Ms. Prop?
Aye.
Vice Chair Kiefer?
Aye.
Chairman Perry?
Aye.
Motion carried 7-0.
Wonderful, thank you. Item number 7 is a general development plan and specific implementation plan for a drive-through restaurant located at 555 South Washburn Street. Park Place Holdings LLC is the owner and Ben Witt is the applicant. Have there been any site inspections? Those are so noted. I will accept the staff report as part of the record, so please present your summary.
Thank you. So the site is about an acre in size. It's a commercial property on the west side of South Washburn Street, north of West 9th Avenue. It had previously been utilized as a multi-tenant office building. It is zoned SMU district with a planned development overlay. Here's an air view of the subject site. The applicant is proposing to demolish the existing building and parking lot on the subject site for development of a new drive-through restaurant. and that use is permitted in the SMU district. And the plans also include a patio on the street side of the building, which is outdoor entertainment, which is permitted in SMU district. The proposed development will be accessed from two-way entrance and exit to the site, on the site, as well as from a shared driveway access on the north side of the site to access the drive-through. Staff has received concerns regarding the access to and from the drive-through from the neighboring driveway to the north, the shared access drive. The applicant held a neighborhood meeting at the site, as well as conducted a in-person and virtual meeting where plans were discussed with the neighboring property owners. The applicant has also provided a traffic impact analysis for the proposed site, and according to the traffic impact analysis, the repurpose of those two existing driveways, which will access the Freddy's, are expected to operate safely and efficiently. The applicant is requesting BSMs for reduced front and rear yard setbacks. For the front yard setback, a portion of the parking area goes within 16 feet of the front property line, where a 25-foot setback is required, and the refuse enclosure has a 1-foot setback from the rear property line. Staff does not have concerns with the setback reduction, as there's an A&R pipeline that runs through the property. Reoccurring issue. So, the A&R pipeline limits the ability for them to establish structures on the lot, so staff does see that hardship. Also, the refuse enclosure will be abutting a neighboring parking area with shared access to the west. So again, staff does not have concerns with those BSMs for reduced setbacks. The applicant is providing 25 parking stalls, which is the maximum allowed by code. Staff is supportive of that number, as neighboring property owners had concerns that there'd be enough parking, so they are providing the maximum parking to meet those concerns. The proposed site layout has a drive-through stacking length that meets all stacking requirements for drive-throughs. The proposed site plan shows the existing monument sign being removed and replaced. They're showing it with a 3-foot setback from the side property line, where a 10-foot setback is required. So they will need a BSM for that reduced setback, and staff does not have concerns with that BSM, as the parking lot will be built out to the side's setback, and sign placement is consistent with that of the existing site. Here's the lighting plan. The applicant is requesting BSMs to exceed the 0.5-foot candle maximum lighting level along the north and south property lines. Staff does not have concerns with the increased lighting level, as it's slightly above the code allowance. And the north excess lighting is along the shared access drive, and the south excess lighting is along the Oshkosh Fire Department property, and the fire department has voice support for that increased lighting level. Here's the landscape plan. So they are meeting all landscaping requirements, with the exception of one shrub will need to be moved to the street side to meet the street side building foundation landscaping requirement, and they will need one more overstory or shade tree at the northeast corner of the parking lot to meet the parking row end tree requirements. They are providing 117% of the required overall landscaping points. Staff is recommending that they provide 125% of the requirement, and that would be an additional 40 landscaping points, and that is to offset the requested base standard modifications, and that is consistent with the level of landscaping we've typically required to compensate for those BSMs. Here are the building elevations. This is the east street-facing elevation, the west rear, and the two side elevations. The applicant is meeting the 50% Class 1 material requirement on both the front and side facades, and the front facade is actually exceeding that Class 1 requirement, so that also serves to offset the BSMs they are requesting. So with that, staff recommends approval of the GDP and SIP with the findings and conditions in your staff report.
Thank you for your report. Appreciate it. Plan commissioners or technical questions to the staff. Mr. Kiefer.
Can you go back to the picture that shows the parking overall driveway? Yeah, that one of those. So that does go all the way around on the map that we have in our document. So that does go all the way, loop around to the west?
The drive-through lane?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay.
The drive-through lane itself, no, sorry, the drive-through loops around the building and then it
Right,
heads
right.
back north.
But that lower section on I guess to the south, that goes in, you can go all the way around the building in that one too?
Correct, there's actually shared access drives that go back to the buildings behind it.
Okay. I just didn't know because it wasn't shaded and it wasn't on our plan and our thing wasn't showing.
Yeah, so they have it, there's some easement along the west line. I think that's the west line, that they have shared access. They have some agreements with the surrounding property owners.
Okay.
Ms. Sherman?
I have two questions. The 125% of the landscaping, they're offering up 117, we're coming at 125. Feels punitive to me. I'm wondering why are we?
Yeah, it's consistency.
Okay.
We've consistently seen 125% as the number that has been used for when we do reduction of setbacks, increased base standard modifications. That has kind of been the threshold that has typically been achieved through this body and council. So that's why the recommendation was there, that we get up to the same standard that other developments have been held to.
Okay, fair. And then my second question is the traffic impact analysis. That's something it sounds like that the applicant took on, so it wasn't something that we took on as the city.
The applicant did the TIA as a requirement of the city. Anytime someone does a planned development, the city has the ability to require a traffic impact analysis. And given some of the early feedback and concerns we heard from adjoining property owners, we felt it was warranted in this case. So the city did require the applicant to do a traffic impact analysis related to how the site would function in that north access drive.
Perfect, thank you.
Other technical questions? Ms. Davy?
Have there been neighborhood meetings on this?
Yep, so there was one neighborhood meeting that we're not sure what happened, but there was a little bit of a mix-up, and either the notices didn't get out or something, so they did a second neighborhood meeting to make sure we had a chance to talk to the neighbors.
And somebody from planning was there?
Brian and
Virtually?
myself both were there. Brian in person, me virtually.
Okay, thanks.
Any other technical questions from the Plan Commission? Okay, I'm seeing none, and we will allow public comment on this agenda item. So is the applicant here, and would they like to make a statement? Please approach the podium and state your name and address for our records, please.
Corey Van Evenhoven, 179 Marion Avenue. Applicant's at a baseball game, so I'm here. But yeah, so we worked, I'm with Park Place Holdings, so we worked with Civil and did multiple revisions, did the traffic study, and I think I'm happy to report that with all of our neighbor issues, we've kind of come to terms, and our company is going to take on some additional, I guess, willingness to help with the easement. So they have some concerns about traffic going on portions of their property, so we're going to share in the ongoing maintenance and everything with that. So did Larry, one of the neighbors, he was actually going to send a letter in support of it. I don't know if he sent it or not. I saw a draft of it, but regardless. Yeah. So yeah, we're working together and doing good. I've got Civil here and some of the franchise reps as well, if anyone has any other questions.
Thank you. Yep. All right, at this time, is there any member of the public that wishes to comment on this agenda item? Approach the podium and state your name and address for our records, please.
Hi, my name's Chris Keller. I'm from 515 South Washburn. We're one of the neighbors of the back parking lot there. Although we weren't excited to have a drive-through restaurant kind of join our little group of buildings here, I do think Park Place has been responsive to our concerns. We're happy the traffic analysis was done, and do think it's a reasonable solution. They have been willing to work with us as far as reconstructing that north driveway to make it more durable, and have alleviated some of our concerns about wear and tear on the parking lot and traffic concerns. I'm happy that they've decided to increase the number of parking spots. I would also support the Planning Commission's request that they have 125% of the points for landscaping. But overall, after negotiations, I think we've come to reasonable terms with this.
Thank you. Any other member of the public wish to speak on this agenda item? Is there any other member of the public that wishes to speak on this agenda item? All right, I'm seeing none, so I'm going to close the public comment period. Does the applicant wish to make a closing statement? You don't have to. Okay. Plan Commission, the action is upon you.
Motion to adopt the findings and recommendations as stated in the staff report.
So moved.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. So is there any discussion on the motion? Any, Ms. Prop?
Just that this sounds like an excellent result based on our ability to get the neighbors together, get the developer together with the neighbors, and I appreciate it.
Great. Any other?
I'd also like to say the more plantings, the better. 125, 150, go crazy. More green is always better for one's mental health and offsetting all the footprint for tearing down the building, etc. So I don't think it's punitive. I think it's great.
Right.
Nickel and diming.
Ms. Davey. Ms. Davey.
I too would like to thank all the neighbors for their participation in this and coming to a resolution. I know it had been contentious initially, and I think this turned out great. And I kind of like Freddie's.
Thank you.
Any other comment on the motion? Okay, I'm seeing none. Let's have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Ulrich?
Aye.
Ms. Davy?
Aye.
Mr. Lowenstein?
Aye.
Ms. Shireman?
Aye.
Ms. Prong?
Aye.
Vice Chair Kiefer?
Aye.
Chairman Perry?
Aye.
Motion carried 7-0.
Okay, Plan Commission. On item number 8, I will call and manage, but I will not participate, and I'll be voting present. Just full disclosure before we start. Item number 8 is a comprehensive land use plan map amendment from community facility to light density residential for property located at 929 Winnebago Avenue, the old Washington Elementary School. The Oshkosh Area School District is the owner. The City of Oshkosh Community Development is the applicant. Have there been any site inspections? Thank you. Those are so noted. The staff report will be part of the record. Please present your summary.
Thank you. So the city is requesting a comprehensive land use map amendment of the Washington Elementary School site. It is about 2.5 acres in size, has frontage on Winnebago Avenue and School Avenue. It's east of Bowen Street. Surrounding area is single and two-family land uses. So the city is in the process of acquiring the subject site and has agreed upon preliminary terms with Habitat for Humanity for workforce homes on the subject site. It will need to be rezoned to a zoning district that allows single-family residential uses, as it's currently zoned institutional, which does not allow for residential uses. After it's rezoned to a residential district, it will then be split into residentially sized lots through the platting process. So the assigned zoning district of the property must be consistent with the future land use map, which is currently for community facility. So staff is recommending it be changed to light density residential for the land use designation. And staff feels that the proposed light density residential land use designation is appropriate for the sites, as it allows for single and two-family uses, and that is consistent with the surrounding single and two-family uses of the established neighborhood, as well as the light density residential future land use designation of the surrounding area. So here's the air photo, and here's just a concept plan of what a layout would be for residential land uses. So with that, staff recommends approval of the comprehensive land use plan amendment from community facility to light density residential.
Thank you for the report. Plan Commission, any technical questions for the staff? Any technical questions for the staff? Okay, I'm seeing none. We will have public comment, and I can open the public comment period. Is the applicant willing to make a statement, or is that the city?
We are the applicant in this case.
So we will not have a statement from the applicant. Any member of the public wish to speak on this agenda item? State your name and address for our records, please.
Hi, my name is Betty Schrader. I'm at 1034 School Avenue. I think putting in the new residential is great, but I have a couple concerns. My property runs the line of the back of the schoolyard, and myself and the neighbor to the left of me and the neighbor to the right to me, we're concerned about what are you going to do with the fence? If we can keep that fence. It's kind of been a thing that it's divided property line for a while. I've been there for 35 years, so, and I know I've talked to the other neighbor and they're really concerned. They have a property where they have dogs coming out all the time. Is there any sense of keeping that fence there? I know you probably can't keep the 8-foot fence on the other side of Mr. Smelling's yard, but is there a chance that that property line, or where that fence even sits? I know back in the day, property lines weren't as fences up.
Yeah, so we've actually, myself and Community Development Director, Ms. Nyforth, have talked to, I think, you and some of your neighbors about it. When the property is surveyed as part of this project will be the first step in determining, okay, where is that fence? Is it on the school property? Is it on the neighboring properties? We share in the sediment. If we can leave it, that is the preference, is to leave the fence. The first step will be kind of trying to figure out where that fence is actually located in reference to the property line. And then our goal is to work through it with those neighbors. And if we can leave the fence and help maintain that for them, that is our goal. That survey work will really help start to figure out where it is.
So then you'll contact us when that,
Yep,
or will that be another planning?
Our goal is to work through it with you, outside of what will happen with Plan Commission. I said both Ms. Nyforth and myself have talked to some of the neighbors about trying to see if we can maintain it as much as possible.
Then my other question is, was there any other consideration of possibly keeping a small park area there? I know that we got Stevens Park and we got Menominee Park pretty close, but with more residentials going in, family homes, that schoolyard's used like constantly right now as a small neighborhood park. Is there any sense of maybe you could look at putting in 14 homes and keeping a small park?
Yeah, it was something that was discussed quite a bit during the neighborhood meetings, and it's trying to balance what's already in the area versus cost of trying to bring this thing together and see if we can make it work at a workforce affordable level. As the lot number goes down, the price goes up. Right. And our goal at the end of the day, the project is trying to match the style and character of the neighborhood the best we can. And by achieving potentially 18 lots, it helps us get to that point. It was something we discussed, is there ability that we could leave a little bit, and it's really just trying to make the numbers work. We don't have a final plat yet. That'll still be worked through to see what we can do. This project will probably come to Plan Commission a minimum of 3 more times. Zone change, primary plat, final plat. So there's a lot to continue to work out as we get the survey work and try to figure out what we can do, what the cost of doing the development become.
I'd like to say thanks for putting in residential homes instead of some big apartment. I think it's great. I think it's going to be good for the neighborhood. It's sad that we're losing our neighborhood school, but the new school looks nice.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Is there any other member of the public that wishes to speak on this agenda item? Please state your name and address for our records, please.
Hi, it's Jane Mickelson at 906 Winnebago. Sorry,
Thank you.
906 Winnebago. So I have concerns about no green space also, because you are taking away the neighborhood playground. Not everyone wants to go to Menominee because it's big, and not everyone wants to truck down to Stevens Park because it's kind of far. I know kids who grew up on Harney, their parents never even let them go to Stevens Park until probably they were like 5th or 6th grade. So I think it needs some green space if you're going to bring more density into the neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Any other member of the public wish to speak on this agenda item? Remember to state your name and address for our records, please.
My name's Renee Mackey. I live and own 1025 School Avenue, so I'm right across the street from the Ball Diamond. I agree with my other neighbors that I would really like to see a small portion of that be a park. And then my other question, and this may be answered down the road, but with the homes that do go in, are they going to be similarly styled?
Yes, so right now the city's actually working with a consultant to design homes that could go there that are in similar in character of size, style to the neighborhood. Obviously, it's really hard to match new construction with older homes. So we have challenged them with doing that to the best of the ability we can, matching the roof styles and the pitches and the development style of that neighborhood to do the best we can at blending in.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Any other member of the public wish to speak on this agenda item?
Hi, I'm Matt Mickelson. My wife was just up here talking about green space. Oshkosh, there was a study that I recall a couple years ago. I'm sorry, 906 Winnebago, we lived together. There was a study done that I vaguely recall about there being a lack of park space in the city. We are underdeveloped when it comes to park and green space. It would be nice. We have an opportunity where we're not demolishing anything at the school, but we have a large open area, and I understand the cost. I'd rather deal with that than street repairs. I'd rather invest in something like this. If we don't have any park space, living across the street, it actually limits my property value. I think it would be a good return on investment if we could figure out how to do that. One last thing, just an idea that popped into my head. I'm a recovering fib. I'm originally from Chicago, and we actually, right, thanks, Chris. When I was growing up, we had a park that was very similar to Little Oshkosh here in Indian Boundary. I grew up in that park, and we had a lot of community involvement to build that park because the city of Chicago was coming in and removing playgrounds due to liability issues. I think I would be excited to see that we have one of the first neighborhood associations. I could see Stevens Park Neighborhood Association getting involved in something of promoting fundraising efforts to have space reserved for this. Stevens Park goes onto the backside of our properties, Washington South. From Chicago, we did Pennies from Heaven. They laid 1 million pennies across the tennis courts. Maybe not that much, but that was one of the community things. We did, all sorts of different fundraisers, and it was just a really great thing for that neighborhood that I grew up in to come together for something like that. I could see that working very, very well here. So, thank you.
Thank you. Any other member of the public wish to speak on this agenda item? Any other member of the public wish to speak? And I'm seeing none, so I'm going to close the public hearing. The applicant does not need to speak again, so Plan Commission, the action is upon you.
Motion to adopt the findings and recommendations as stated in the staff report.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on this motion? Ms. Davy?
If this was a developer that was not the city, that was going to be building 18 houses there, what would their requirement be for green space?
So in this situation, we would recommend fee in lieu of, just like the city would have to pay to do it. Given the size of the area, we have frequently found that Parks is not willing to, the development cost and maintenance cost of something so small becomes very difficult and becomes a very challenge. So we would recommend to Parks Department that this be a fee in lieu of development, and if this goes forward, with or without, if it goes through without any park space, the city would have to pay Parks fee in lieu of as well. We got to play by the same rules.
Ms. Shireman?
Mine is along the same. Have we ever had a plot of land in a development where they did parcel it off and do a true park? So not just green space, but true park that we have to pay for and
Yep.
maintain and all that?
Ripple Avenue Estates, Ripple Avenue Apartments on the south side, Pickard Estates, where's Jeff when I need him? Pickard Estates, which is a subdivision on the west side of town, had developed parkland. Similar to this project, you've seen us talk about the Farmington development. That Farmington development is within the corp of an area that needs parkland. So if that development moves forward, there will be parkland because it's in the corp that there's additional parkland needed in this area. This area, the corp doesn't call for additional parkland.
It's not unheard of. There's a precedent where you have done that.
We've done them both ways. It really, the character of the area is largely what Parks and the Corp Plan Comprehensive Outdoor Recreation Plan uses when it analyzes, words are getting difficult today, whether fee in lieu of is appropriate or parkland dedication is appropriate.
Last question is, the proximity of Menominee Park and Stevens Park, is that within our plan that it's close enough?
That is largely why the Corp Plan does not recommend additional parkland in this area.
Yeah. I remember 28 years ago when I built over by Carl Traeger, there was a planned park. And 28 years later, we still don't have that park, so that's why I was curious.
Rouge Park should hopefully be built this year finally.
We have trails.
Yeah. As Plan Commission probably recalls, they're updating the Corp Plan this year. As part of that, council did approve a fee in lieu of and a kind of a park development policy to be reviewed. We have a consultant online to do it. Once the Corp is nearing completion, we will be doing a park impact fee and fee in lieu of study to help determine. It's great if you get park property, but if you never have the money to build the park property, that doesn't really help. Now, the flip side of that, it makes development costs on developers higher. So how do you balance park needs, and I'm talking in the broader scope now, park needs of the community versus development cost of getting those developments? So it's a fine balancing act, which is why the consultant was hired to do that. We may look for Plan Commission to participate in that study through the ad hoc committee when it gets going, as well as then it'll be going to council. They'll have to make that final determination on, how do we amend or what do we look at for our park situation and our fee in lieu of versus our land dedication and development costs.
Mr. Ulrich.
I got two comments. About the green space, I agree. I know we've got fewer parks per capita as per the study that was recommended earlier. And my eldest daughter went to school at this building right here that's being torn down. So I got to know a fair amount of people who were living on Winnebago in school. And the consensus is overwhelmingly, it would be great to have some more green space here, even if we allot 2 lots to it. And we don't have to put playground equipment, just trees and greenery for people to run and get a little bit of space would be beneficial. So I hope to see something come from the financial analysis that could maybe incorporate that option. I'm all in support of it. Just wanted to say that. And secondly, I've talked to some of the people doing the design standards for the housing that's being proposed here, and they look really nice. I'm on the Landmarks Commission too, and I'm optimistic that the styles will be similar to the homes that are already in there. It's going to be a good thing, not just for this neighborhood, but Oshkosh at large, so we're not building modern cookie cutter houses that don't fit the area. I think this is going to be a trial for what they're working on, and I think it's coming along well.
Thank you. Any other discussion on the motion? All right, I'm seeing none. Let's have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Ulrich?
Aye.
Ms. Davy?
Aye.
Mr. Lowenstein?
Aye.
Ms. Shireman?
Aye.
Ms. Proff?
Aye.
Vice Chair Kiefer?
Aye.
Chairman Perry?
Present.
Motion carried 6-0.
Thank you. Item number 9 is a public hearing. It's a review of the 2024 Annual Action Plan Community Development Block Grant Program. The City of Oshkosh is the applicant. There are no site inspections, and so we will just go and accept the staff report as part of the record, and please present your summary.
Staff is proposing the project allocations that are laid out in the staff report under 2024 entitlement allocations. These projects are housing initiatives, central city redevelopment, public facilities, public services, and planning and administration, similar to what you've seen in the past. For this item, the Plan Commission is being asked to make a determination of consistency, that the proposed activities in the plan are consistent with the city's comprehensive plan as updated, and any other official maps or other planned activities of the city, in addition to recommending the plan submission to the city council. With that, staff recommends approval.
All right, thank you. Plan Commission, do you have any technical questions on this? Any technical questions on the CDBG plan? All right, I'm seeing none. It is a public hearing, and so the applicant has spoken. Are there any members of the public that wish to speak on the Community Development Block Grant Plan? Any members of the public wishing to speak on the Community Development Block Grant Plan? Okay, I'm seeing none, so I'm closing the public hearing. We don't need a closing statement from the applicant, so Plan Commission, the action is upon you.
I'll make a motion to adopt the findings and recommendations as stated in the staff report.
Second.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Is there any discussion on this motion? Any discussion on the motion? All right, I'm seeing none. Let's have a roll call vote, please.
Mr. Ulrich?
Aye.
Ms. Davy?
Aye.
Mr. Lowenstein?
Aye.
Ms. Sharman?
Aye.
Ms. Prop?
Aye.
Vice Chair Kiefer?
Aye.
Chairman Perry?
Aye.
Motion carried 7-0.
All right, the Planning Director's report. It's the Extraterritorial Zoning ETZ Committee. It has an opening for an alternate. Term is 6/1/2024 to 5/21/2026. Mr. Lyon.
Yes, Mr. Chairman. So we do have an opening on the Extraterritorial Zoning Committee. So we are looking to see if there are any members willing to serve on that. The group has met once in the last 4 or 5 years. So it is not frequent that the ETZ meets. It is a combined board of City of Oshkosh members and Town of Algoma. This is the Plan Commission that governs that joint zoning area between the city and the Town of Algoma. So just looking to see if anyone's interested. Just for a quick reminder of who's currently on it. Ms. Davy, Mr. Kiefer, Ms. Prop, Ms. Shireman are presently on the ETZ.
And how many other people are on the ETC?
From the city or in general?
In general.
In general, I believe there are 3 or 4 town members on it.
We haven't met in.
We met January of this year for the first time in like 5 or 6 years.
I'm on it, I'm not an alternate?
You are an alternate.
Okay.
And this is an alternate seat as well.
Okay, because I was like, I didn't get an invitation,
Yep.
but okay.
It's held right here during the same time when or if it meets.
It was like 10 minutes at the
I
beginning of that
remember
meeting. Yeah.
Yeah.
But yes, this is an alternate spot as well. So anyone interested?
I'll be the alternate, or the second alternate.
Anyone else?
Then I hear you don't have to go to the meetings.
Is there,
Might as well volunteer.
is there any concern that it's overly dominated by this particular group?
No, so these are the members required to be made up of this body.
Yep.
The only people that can serve on it are made up of Plan Commission members.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep. Last call, otherwise Carl will give your name to Mayor. And
Yeah, Carl.
All right, Carl.
That's right.
That's a good thing.
of the people that are here, right?
Right. All right, last item on the agenda is adjournment.
So moved. Second.
We have a motion and a second. We can have a voice vote. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? We are adjourned. There are no